In today's video, I ranked every single season of Ninjago. Some of my opinions are absolutely crazy, so make sure to watch to the end of the video. Let's dive right into this ranking. At last place in the ranking is sadly Day of the Departed. Day of the Departed is a 45-minute special in between season 6 and 7. And I kind of think it's just too short, and it had a lot of potential because the villains are absolutely amazing that they chose for this. I mean, Pythor or Chen are amazing villains, but just it felt a little bit cropped into a 45-minute special. It should have been an entire season in my opinion. If it was an entire season, it had a lot of potential to be an extremely good season, but I think it's just a bit disappointing and at some parts is a bit boring. One thing I did like about the season was the redemption of Moro, and that they made him a character that is on the good side and not on the bad side, following his redemption in season 5 of Ninjago. At number 18 on the list is the fire chapter from season 11, Scrolls of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. I think a big reason why I dislike this season so much is because it felt a bit childish. If we look at like the last 3 seasons, the Oni trilogy, it was a really dark Ninjago season and I really liked that, and this felt a little bit light-hearted. And I think overall this season was pretty boring, maybe except the finale, but I think overall it was a really boring and unentertaining season. And also Asphera is not that good of a villain, I don't like her at all. Next up is season 14, The Island. I think the thing with The Island is that it's way too short. It's only 4 episodes, so you couldn't really enjoy much of the island itself. And I think Ronin is one of the worst reveals of villains Ninjago has done, because I think he isn't good in the main villain role. I think he was really good in season 5, but here he's just meh. And also the thing with this season is all the budget went into the suits, because these suits are absolutely amazing, but I think the story isn't really that good. It's still more entertaining than I think the first part of Scrolls of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, but I still think it's a bit boring overall. But I do like that it sets up season 15, which we come to later. Hands of Time is kind of a controversial season because some people really hate it, but also some people think it's actually quite good. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think it's as bad as people say, because I really like the lore this season. I really like Kai and Nia's parents here, and also Crux and Acronyx aren't the worst villains in existence, but it's also just the animation is pretty bad this season, and I just don't like the overall feel of the season. The Vermilion Warriors I couldn't care less for. But overall, I think it isn't as bad as people say. The finale I really like actually, and the beginning, so that's good. But in the middle part it's just boring, because it's just the Vermilion Warriors attack, Ninja attack them, Ninja win, they fight for the Time Blades, and that's just kind of the season. There isn't really much going on until like the last few episodes. But when we get to these last few episodes, it's actually really good. I love seeing Young Woo and Young Garmadon, so that's always a W. But I think it's still a bad season, but not as bad as people say it is. Our number 15 pick, I picked Prime Empire, and I don't think Prime Empire is a bad season particularly, but it just didn't feel like Ninjago. Prime Empire felt like another show. If it was not Ninjago, I would have absolutely loved this season, but it's just it didn't feel like Ninjago. Plot of this is that they go into a video game, which is really weird for a show about ninjas, but whatever. And the overall season, I think, is the pacing is pretty bad. Unagami isn't really that much of an intimidating villain, but this has one of the best side characters, Okino. I absolutely love Okino, and I think overall it is just a decent season of Ninjago, and I enjoy watching it, but it isn't one of my favorites. We now have arrived at the pilots. The pilots is the first piece of Ninjago content even before season 1, and I think it's really great. Samukai is an amazing villain, and also Garmadon is really good in the pilots, and making Kai the main character of the pilots I think is amazing. And it's set up that he isn't the Green Ninja, which still most of our fans are really angry at, but I think this season overall introduces us to the land of Ninjago and also to the ninjas, and I think it is a great introduction to the series. It isn't as great because it's really short, and also I think the animation isn't really up there, and the voice acting also, but it's still a great piece of Ninjago content, and it also is a little bit better because it is the first piece of Ninjago content, and without it we would have never been here. Now we get to the season you've all been waiting for, Crystalized. I think the thing with Crystalized is you either love it or you really hate it, and I don't really like it, if I'm gonna be honest. I think the first part is good. It just shows the ninja and everyone coming back back from Seabound and the loss of Nia. And I think that's really good handled actually. They brought back Nia a bit too fast, but if they handled it good, then it didn't really matter. The Crystal Council was good in the first part, but then we get to the second part. And the second part, the animation is still absolutely amazing, but it just wasn't good. The dialogue was absolutely bad, and also things just weren't making sense. The writing wasn't really good, and it just fricked up a lot of things Ninjago has set up in the past seasons. If we look at Lloyd and Garmadon's relationship in this season, the thing with that is Lloyd is really angry at Garmadon for like no reason in this season. Garmadon is just trying to be the nicest person, and Lloyd just completely ignores him and just hates him for like no reason. And Harumi, on the other hand, Lloyd absolutely loves Harumi for some reason, because he betrayed him like a million times. So I don't get that dynamic. I don't really like Harumi's redemption, and the final battle isn't as great, but it's still like not that bad. But overall I think the season is pretty bad. Next up on our ranking is the Ice chapter from season 11, Scrolls of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. I think the Ice chapter is way better than the first chapter of this season. I still think it doesn't really get the heights of some other seasons, but it's a way bigger improvement. I like Zane as the Ice Emperor, although I think he isn't really handled that well in the finale. I think he gets his memory back way too quick, and also the scenes they show in the finale aren't that great for Zane, because he gets his memory back because the word protect is named, and his quote is protect those who cannot protect themselves, and he just gets memories from like this the fire chapter only, and I think that didn't really have to do much with protect. But outside of that, I think the season is really well handled. I like Lloyd's journey with Akita in the snow, and I also like Cole and Kai's redemption, and I also like most of the season actually, but it just isn't really up there with the other seasons. I just like other seasons more, but I don't think it is particularly bad, and I think it is a way bigger improvement from the fire chapter. Next up is Rebooted, the big comeback of Ninjago after its original cancellation in 2013. And I think this season is pretty good overall. I think Garmadon is absolutely amazing in this season. I love Garmadon. Only the thing I think what ruins this season is the love triangle between Cole, Nia and Jay, because Cole and Nia didn't really interact before, and Nia and Jay had a whole relationship going on. I really like Nia and Jay together, but then they just decide, yeah, let's put Cole with it, and I think that doesn't really make sense, because Nia and Jay had a happy relationship before that point. So I think that didn't really make any sense, and the space part didn't really make any sense. It was enjoyable though. It was really enjoyable when they went to space, but it just didn't make any sense, let's be honest. But the finale is really one of the best finales of Ninjago until this point, because Zane's sacrifice is one of the most emotional scenes, and I really love it. Overall, I think the season is really good, but it just isn't up there with the rest of the seasons, and I think they could have done way better. And also bringing back the Overlord wasn't really the best choice here, I think. Next up is the first season of Ninjago, Rise of the Snakes, and I think this is one of the best Ninjago seasons actually. For a first season of a show, this is absolutely amazing, because it focuses on all the characters, and all the characters gets as much growth. I especially like Zane in this season, because he just is amazing with the robot arc story, and Lloyd in this season, the growth he gets to. All the characters get so much growth in this season, and it sets up an amazing show, and I think this season is absolutely great. I just think the animation just isn't that good, because it's an older season, so it's natural that the animation isn't as good, and I think it has a few pacing flaws. I like Pythor a lot as a villain, but the Great Devourer didn't really get me. I think it is a good villain for a first season. It isn't a bad villain at all, but I just think it isn't one of my favorites. I don't like the Serpentine that much, and this is really controversial, but I don't like him that much. I like Pythor and Skills, but that's just it. I couldn't care less for the other Serpentine. And overall, I think this is an amazing written story, and it really flows good into season 2, which comes later. And now we get to Seabound. And the first time I watched Seabound, I didn't think it was actually that good. I didn't really like it, but the second watch, I just saw how good this season actually is. I think the focus on Nia here in this season is absolutely amazing. The relationship between her and Maya is really good, and I love the overall setting of the season. I love an underwater season here. I think Kelmar isn't really that good of a villain. I think it's just a fight for ripoff, but overall I think the season actually is really good, and Nia, her arc at the end of the season where she turns into the sea is absolutely perfectly done, and where she says goodbye to the ninja at the ending, her sacrifice, is absolutely amazing. I love that. And also the overall pacing of the season is good. I love Benfomar. I think he is my favorite side character outside of Okino in season 12. And overall it's just a really good season. The only thing I think that is wrong with this season is that it's just an underwater sea. It feels like an underwater version of season 1 here, because the Great Devourer and Vujira are kind of the same big snake, and also Bifor and Kelmar are just somewhat the same characters if you look at their aspects. But overall I think this is an amazing season. Number 8 on the list is Legacy of the Green Ninja. I think this is also a controversial season because some people really like it and other people really dislike it. I am with the people who really like it because I absolutely love this season. I think the first part is a bit less good because it's filler, and that's why most people dislike the season. I think it isn't bad filler at all, because maybe there's a little bit of nostalgic bias here for me, but personally I think the filler is actually good here. But then we get to the final battle arc, and the final battle arc is absolutely amazing. I think the final battle is maybe the best ending from Ninjago in my opinion, outside of maybe season 10. But I absolutely love this season, and it brings back a lot of nostalgia. I think the kimono suits are the best Ninjago suits there are, and the Overlord battle between Lloyd and the Overlord is just so nostalgic for every Ninjago fan. And it was originally also the real ending of Ninjago before they went back with Rebooted. Now we get into the absolutely amazing seasons, and it starts off with number 7, Possession. I think Possession is a really good season. I love Kai in this season. I think he is my favorite character in this season because his dynamic with Lloyd and Moro is so amazing in this season. And talking about Moro, I think outside of Garmadon is my favorite villain of the series. I think his backstory here is absolutely amazing with Wu, and I like it that he is the master of wind, and that is really cool to me. And also overall the season has really much from season 1 because it more focuses on the 4 ninja. It goes back into that old times where it was the 4 ninja, and I really like that when they do that. Having Lloyd being possessed in this season is an absolute great choice, and the final battle is also really cool between Lloyd and Moro, because when they go through the dimensions, I think that is absolutely cool that they come in places like Chima, the Departed Realm and everything, and I really love that. So I think overall this season is really great, and also Nia, her arc with her becoming the Water Ninja is really well handled, and I really like that. At the number 6 spot is the last Wildbrain era season of this list. I think after Wildbrain took over, the seasons went a little bit downhill, but there's this one season that I really like, and that is Master of the Mountain. I love Cole as a character. I think he is an amazing character, and that shows in this season. I think his connection with Vanya is really cool, and I think his crew is also, even though they're mostly hated, I think they're a decent crew, you know. But overall this season is also really good above the ground, because I think Vangelis is a really cool villain, the Skull Sorcerer, when he has his skull. And I think that we get to learn more about Cole's backstory is absolutely cool. I love the story about Lily and her story underground, and I think that is an amazingly well done story. And I think the final battle where Cole unlocks the Spinjitzu burst is absolutely amazingly done. I think it looks amazing. The animation of course is really good, and overall I really like the season. I just like the other seasons more. Now we get to my top 5 seasons of Ninjago. At number 5 is already a controversial one. I put March of the Oni at 5. I think it's still the weakest in the Oni trilogy because it's just that good, but I think March of the Oni is an amazing ending to Ninjago. If Ninjago would have ended there right there and there were no seasons after, I think I would have liked that's ending to the series, because I think ending it with the tornado of creation is absolutely a beautiful way to end it. And after that, Lloyd's encounter with the first Spinjitzu master is absolutely amazingly done. The only thing that is wrong with this season is that it is only 4 episodes. I really would have loved it to have like 10-20 episodes this season. I absolutely love the Oni trilogy, and this is one of my favorite seasons. I think Garmadon in this season is absolutely amazing, how he learns about caring about people, and how he learns how his character growth ends in this season, with his growth from being this evil emperor to this more caring person who tries to understand the good ways. And I really love this season. I think the Omega is really a bland villain, but it doesn't really matter because the Overlord is also a good villain. So I really love this season. Next is season 4, the Tournament of Elements. Most people actually have this at their #1 season. I saw a lot of people who really love this season. I also really love it, but I think there are 3 seasons who are even better than this one. But even though it is my #1, it's still a really good season. I love the introduction of Skylar in this season. Skylar is one of my favorite characters, and I absolutely love her character. And also the introduction of the other elemental masters is a really cool idea, to introduce all these different elements and make a tournament out of it, which was a really creative idea. I love the suits in this season. I love Chen and Klaus as villains. Chen is of course a really new type of villain that we haven't seen before, and I really love his character. I think he is a really funny character, and also to learn about the Serpentine War was really cool. I really love seeing Young Wu and Young Garmadon and things from the past of Ninjago. And also the introduction to the Departed Realm in the finale was really cool. The only thing I didn't really like overall was that Garmadon got sacrificed, because that man is my favorite character and we didn't get to see him for another like 5 seasons or something, until like the Oni trilogy. Only in season 5 a glimpse of him. But yeah, I didn't really like that, but I think it was handled good. And overall the season is a really cool season. Now we enter the top 3 with the second part of the Oni trilogy, Hunted. I think it is a bit less good than Sons of Garmadon, but this is still such a good season. I love that the ninja got split in the last season and they had to go into 2 groups with Nia and Lloyd in the city, and the original 4 ninja plus a young Wu. I really loved the character growth of Wu in this season, where he went from this young boy to the old master again. And with the original 4 ninja in the realm of Oni and Dragon was absolutely amazing. I love the Dragon Hunter. Iron Baron wasn't a perfect villain, but he was fine. He was okay. And the Dragon Hunters overall are of course amazing, but I think for me the best thing that happened in this season was with Lloyd and Nia. I absolutely loved that the entire city was controlled by the Sons of Garmadon, and that Harumi and Lord Garmadon really were the leaders of the city at that moment in time. And I think the ending of this season is amazingly handled, where Lloyd gets his powers back, and also the way he defeats the Garmadon is just pure Ninjago fashion, where he just doesn't actually fight, because he gets to know that the power of Garmadon is fueled by anger and by conflict. So he learns that, and there are so many lessons learned in this season, and good lessons, and there's so much character growth, and it really gave me that season 1 character growth feeling, but this time with like upgraded graphics, and everything was just really good in this season, and I loved it. And now we get to the only season in my opinion that can compete with the Oni trilogy, and that is Skybound. I absolutely love Skybound, and I know there are a lot of people who think Skybound isn't actually that good. I think it's literally one of the best Ninjago seasons ever made, and I think having Jay as the main character, first off, I thought when they said that they was gonna be Jay as the main character for season 6, I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. But when I watched the season, I thought that Jay was one of the best characters to have as a main character, because we now explored Jay's character more, and we could also see a different side of him. And also his relationship with Nia was absolutely amazingly handled in this season. I think Nadakan is a great villain. I think he is my number 3 villain behind Moro and Garmadon. And I think his relationship with Jay, and where he tries to make Jay wish himself away, is absolutely amazingly done. I think the ending is really good, because I think this is the most destructive ending of a Ninjago season if the ninja lost, because then everything would have been destroyed and Nia would have died. I think this finale actually had the most deaths, because every ninja died except Jay in this episode. So I really love this season, and I think it's also actually the only season that can compete with the Oni trilogy. But we still have one season to go, and that is number 1, Sons of Garmadon. Sons of Garmadon, I think, is the perfect Ninjago season. It gives every single character so much character growth, the perfect character growth. The villains are perfect. Lloyd in this season is absolutely amazing. He's by far the best character this season, how he's handled. And I think his relationship with Harumi is amazing in this season. I think how they explored the lore in this season is absolutely amazing. The Oni masks here are really cool concept. I love the bikers concept here. I think Kilo and Ultraviolet are really good side characters, even though they're not my favorites, but they're really good side characters. And overall this season has just a little bit of a darker tone, and I really love that for Ninjago. I love when Ninjago goes further into these darker themes, because it just makes the show so much better. And I love that Wild Brain Studios makes more seasons like the Oni trilogy, even though they did not make it. But this season was just perfection, and I hope Ninjago in 2023 can do this again. This was the ending of our list. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to let below in the comments everyone know what your ranking is from the seasons, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys hopefully with the next video.